So I'm curious, do any dog lovers in the congregation today? Couple? Okay, good. You know, I've been toying with this idea of one day doing a homily entitled, I Want to Be the Person That My Dog Thinks I Am. But that's not today, so don't worry, you're safe. Our gospel has Jesus saying something which, on the surface seems rather harsh to the woman who has an ailing daughter. Now, in my home, I have to tell you, we have two dogs. We have this black and white dog that's a Dalmador. That's part Dalmatian and part Labrador. Her name's Maggie, and she's my dog. Then we have something that resembles a chupacabra. It's my wife's dog, the Chihuahua. And her name's Angel. And my friends, you have absolutely no idea what I had to do to get that Chihuahua to like me. Not love me, just to like me. At any rate, never had cats because I'm allergic to them. So that's why I'm kind of a dog person. And my family and I are dog people. We would do anything for these dogs because, we love them. And yes, we treat them like family. Unlike any other animal that I'm aware of, these animals love unconditionally. And if you have a dog, you know what I'm talking about. Unconditional love is also something that parents have for their children. And you know what? It's also the kind of love that God has for each of us. I believe that the real secret to understanding what seems like a harsh gospel is best viewed through the eyes of love. Now, believe it or not, this was the first excursion that Jesus made outside of Jewish territory. I believe this was probably a deliberate withdrawal as the end of his public ministry was coming closer, and I really think that Jesus needed some time to contemplate this and to prepare his disciples for what would lay ahead of them. Leaving Jewish territory, he must have thought, would give him a brief reprieve from the constant throng of people hounding him. And here we find Jesus with his disciples, and out of nowhere comes a woman. Not just any woman, but a Canaanite woman. Now, you see, the Canaanites were the ancestral enemies of the Jews. Not only was it not proper to speak to a woman who you weren't married or related to, but this woman is an enemy of your people. One version of this gospel, which I read, said she was shrieking at Jesus. How embarrassing. And what are we to make of the disciples' response to this? These are the men who will one day lead the church. The disciples, in effect, say something along the lines of, give her what she wants and send her on her way. Does that sound full of love and compassion? Not really. Jesus must now respond. And as I mentioned, it's through the eyes of love which one must view and understand Jesus' response. One thing to be certain is that every action of Jesus in the Gospels has its origin in love. And this would be a teaching moment Jesus has for his disciples as well. Now, on the surface, as I mentioned, Jesus' words seem harsh. However, let's look at his words a little more closely. He needs to enkindle in this woman a response from faith, and not just to see him as some sort of a regional miracle worker. He also needs to teach the disciples something about compassion. Jesus says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now this woman, out of love for her daughter, and no doubt desperation, plainly says, Lord, help me. And his response is very unique. You know, I was in sales for over 30 years. And one thing that I learned when I was in sales is that it's not so much what you say, but how you say it that's important. Jesus says to the woman, "It's not right to take the food of children and to throw it to the dogs." Now, on the surface, this doesn't sound full of love and compassion. Yet, let's dig just a little deeper. The Greek word for dogs here is kunari, which does not refer to something that's mean or wild, refers to a beloved pet, a pet that I can relate to as part of my family. Perhaps it was the tone in which Jesus said this and how he said it to the woman. Maybe he even said it with a smile or perhaps a wink. By doing so, it caused her to respond with a bit of wit. This woman now sees that Jesus isn't blowing her off or is repulsed by her. In fact, it gives her the indomitable persistence which elicits her faith and is nothing short of miraculous. "Lord, for even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the table of the masters." That's how I got the Chihuahua to like me. I got to be honest here. I'd slip that dog food every chance when my wife wasn't looking. At any rate, Jesus responds out of love by saying, "Oh, woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." My brothers and sisters, I believe the challenge for each of us is to imitate the unconditional love our God has for us in our dealings with the people that we come in contact with in our daily life. It means that the very definition of what we're trying to say when we say we belong to Christ. As you go through the exit signs of this building today, remember that you're entering what I call mission territory. It's up to each of us to become ambassadors for Christ. We are charged to take the good news that we've received here at this altar and to share it, whether in the parking lot, at school, in the gym, or even in the privacy of our homes. We are to become the gospel. And as you've heard me say in the past, you must take this charge very seriously, because you know what? You may just be the only gospel someone ever reads. Amen? Amen.